All right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Bashmi Awashah, Bahashem, Ha, Rakah, Kodash, Mamav. Double honors to the elders, Apostle GMS, and the elder of the Lions Den Kapahar 1. And shalom to you, Akim and Afak that's out there pushing in truth and sincerity. Shalom, right? Coming with you with a continuation of Daniel 7. But I'm going to start at verse 4 as I did in the previous one, just to gain more clarity, right? So it says the first was like a lion, representing who? The Assyrian Empire. It had eagle's wings, right? And when it was stretched out and vast, I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked. And how were they plucked? They were plucked in 612 BC with the fall of Nineveh, right? And it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand up on his feet as a man. So it was made to stand up on two feet, fighting on two fronts in combat with the Babylonians and the Babylonians and the Medes. And a man's heart was given to it. So that's referring to with Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians, right? Because after Nebuchadnezzar died, his son took over all his father's wishes, right? With his policies and his his buildings and their their idol worship, being called the Builder King, And it says, and behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, being who? The Medes, man. And it was raised up itself on one side, right? It was raised up itself on one side, being with the Medes. But being with the Medes. And it had 3 ribs in its mouth. So yeah, man, with Cyrus the Great, right? It raised up itself on one side by the Medes overthrowing or doing mutiny against their leader at that time, or Astyages, with this article right here. So this is just kind of getting at getting the account of it. It says the contemporary chronicles of Nabonidus refers to the mutiny on the battlefield as the cause for Astyages' overthrow, but does not mention Harpagus by name. So Harpagus was a general of Astyages at the time, but he was later given a seat or a higher ranking or a high position in Cyrus's army, after the taking of Lydia and after the overthrow as well. So just after the overthrow, right? So I just want to get more clarity on that, right? So it says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, man. Being with the Medes, man, overthrowing Astyages, doing mutiny against them and giving their power into Cyrus the Great, being under him, And it says, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, right? So that 3 ribs being Lydia, and Babylon. So Media in 549, Lydia in 546, and Babylon in 539. So that was that whole entire process, right? With the 3 ribs, right? It was so those are the 3 ribs, and they say and they said thus unto it, arise and devour much flesh. And that's what they ultimately said when they overthrew Astyages at that time, saying, hey, go out and and devour much flesh, make it vast, so they set themselves towards Lydia as well, and just conquering, so let me get a quick so this is Cyrus II of Persia, right? Was the founder of the Achaemenid, whatever, the first Persian Empire, right? Because he was a Persian by his father, right? But his mother was Medes, like she went back to the Mede, she was a Mede, part of the Median Empire, so that's what her bloodline went through, right? Her father, in fact, was Astyages, so thus having a connection between Cyrus the Great and the Median Empire, right? And it said, under his rule, the empire embraced all the previous civilized states of the ancient Near East, expanded vastly, and eventually conquered most of Western Asia and much of Central Asia, spanning from the Mediterranean Sea and Helens Point in the west to the Indus River in the east. The empire created by Cyrus was the largest the world had yet seen. So that's how they went and devoured much flesh. So the Lord raised them up, and and even caused the army of Astyages to commit mutiny against Astyages to give their power unto Cyrus, thus having him taking Media, Lydia, and Babylon, and expanding expanding that empire out, right? And it says, let me see, I'm gonna get a little bit more. Was the largest yet has seen and its maximum extent under his successors. The Achaemenid Empire stretched from the parts of the Balkans, eastern Bulgarian, Thrace Macedonia, so Edom, these are the Edomites, and southeast Europe proper in the west to the Indus Valley in the east. So yeah, man, it was vast, man. And it says the reign of Cyrus lasted about 30 years. His empire took root with the conquest of the Median Empire, right? Followed by the Lydian Empire, and eventually the Neo-Babylonian Empire. So thus having that three ribs, man. So man, so it's just further backing up the scriptures. Median Empire, 549, the Lydian Empire in 546, and then the Babylonian Empire in 539. Belshazzar, right? So let's go ahead and read it from verse 4 again, right? So this is Daniel 7:4. The first was like a lion. The Assyrian Empire, it had eagle's wings. It was real stretched out, right? It was very vast. Different provinces and stuff like that, so call it. Very great. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, right? But how were they plucked? It was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon his feet as a man. It happened in 612 BC with the fall of Nineveh, with Nabopolassar and with the Babylonians and also with the Medes, fighting on with the Assyrians fighting on two fronts. And a man's heart was given to it, being with Nebuchadnezzar's son, taking on his ideologies and his policies and his agricultures and his edicts, contracts to build and stuff. Verse 5, and behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up on itself on one side, being with the Medes, overthrowing Astyages, giving this power unto Cyrus, right? And it had 3 ribs in the mouth, Media in 549, Lydia in 546, and Babylon in 539, right? Of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. And that's what they said when they overthrew Astyages, telling him that, hey, they're giving the power unto Cyrus, and they was like, hey, bro, man, take all these lands, take all these places, devour much flesh. That's you having that mass conquest, and they read that he let me go ahead and get it again because I don't want to misquote it. It says that's where you had the Cyrus was the largest the world has seen, created the largest empire that the world has seen, and Esau is in that spirit today, devouring much flesh. But that's it for this lesson or continuation. Hope it was edifying. Shalom.